Good morning, High Desert Center for Spiritual Living, beautiful people. Thank you so much for being here. I was on a pilgrimage this last week, and it's beautiful to bring back the energy of the ocean and the people that I can, you know how you can just pick up with some people and you can just laugh and cry and be in a car for 7 hours with. And with some stops along the way. And we just would stop. We got to the ocean and it's like, okay, better stop, gotta stop. There's something about being in connection with other people and to just give people the presence, give people our very presence of heart, our very presence of mind, and to have that openness and that experience of sharing with one another. And so to give from that place, and to know that as we give our kindness, as we give our love, as we give our joy, and share in that experience, we can be even more fully who we are. And to just have that connection and to pick up where we left off. And I have to remember that sometimes. We can just pick up where we left off and be back in that gratitude, be back in that presence, no matter what we're up to, no matter what we're doing, and have that be in our thought and in our choice and in our actions. What I know is that on my way home, I was on a plane, and I was thinking I'd see some balloons out the window, but I guess they come out in the morning. The balloons come out in the morning? Yeah. Okay, so now I know. I'm going to wake up really early in the morning and be in those balloons. I was thinking I'd see those out of the plane, but what I did see is there was this silence and nothing else to hear on the plane, but kind of just the, you know, how it cracks sometimes, and there's that silence, and everyone's in their seats, buckled in. And there's these prepubescent kids that are all going like the Geico commercial. Woo! We were having a little bit of turbulence and a little bit of clouds over those skies, and it was like, woo! So I thought, I might as well enjoy this opportunity. I might as well take this opportunity to enjoy this ride. And so no matter what that ride is of life, I can remember in the midst of it, whether I'm in a car for 7 hours with these friends, or whether I'm in a plane coming home, I can just go, whee! I'm enjoying the ride. So it was a girls' road trip to the ministers' gathering. And Dr. Ken Gordon, who's the spiritual leader of the Centers for Spiritual Living, talked about our movement. You know, we've always had this question, are we a faith? Are we a philosophy? Are we a way of life? What are we? What are we up to? And instead of trying to fit into something mainstream, we can be the stream and be the cutting edge. And instead of looking at that area of what we're not, we can move forward and look at who we are. And we are on the cutting edge. We are on the leading edge of thought. And we know that we can truly make a difference in so many areas of our lives, and we can be in that loving space with people. And so he talked about just accepting that, and whatever that givingness or whatever seeds of greatness that we're sowing, we can be that great people in that great movement, because there's something that's already moving, whether it's in that vehicle that stops at the ocean, whether it's in that plane that rides and lands, and knowing that as we give, we are committed to leading a committed life. And Dr. Ernest Holmes talked about when we've had a thought, and Marilyn Leo writes about this, who knew Ernest personally. Dr. Ernest Holmes, who's the founder of the Centers for Spiritual Living, which is a guide, it's a guide for spiritual living, founder of religious science, he talked about having our attention, being committed to where our attention is. Because when we've had a thought, we've already had that thought. So if we take that, kick that up a notch, one notch beyond, just change your thinking, change your life, we can say we're committed to leading this life, and that's where our attention goes, to where our commitment is. So we have this commitment to being on the leading edge of our life, where our attention is. So in essence, it's leading with our sense of commitment. So we lead with a committed life. So we're committed, and where our attention is what shows up. I intended to be connected with these people who I've known for years and just accept me for who I am, and just to love for the sake of loving, to give my presence for the sake of giving. And we had a pilgrimage within the pilgrimage where we visited one of our mentors who was like the teacher of teachers for 30 some years. She's teachers of so many people and has a long legacy. And her name's Reverend Linda McNamara. And it was just beautiful to be with her. She didn't go to the conference, but we knew where she lived. She was just up the coast. So we said, okay, we'll meet you. Come meet us at this restaurant at Dana Point, which was not too far away. So we got to meet with her and share with her on our journey and where we've been and where we're moving to on this cutting edge of life. And sometimes when we're leading this committed life, it means surrender. We had to make a choice not to do this activity, but to go up the coast and be with her and listen to what she had to say and give her our appreciation. And so it means that we were governed by our commitment. We were committed to leading and being leaders in that place where we could just share who we were and how grateful we were and how happy we were because we were grateful. So it's a relief. It's a relief, in essence. We have this opportunity and privilege to work together and to be in this spiritual community and to be with beautiful people on the planet. And when we realize that we're not poor of any resources, that there is no label to disable us. We're not poor by any means of any resources. We have resources of wisdom. We have resources of love. We have the laughter and the crying that went on in the vehicle. We have that sharing and caring of just a phone call that I would make from the airport, boarding the airport, and then landing at the airport, to know that there was that reaching out and leading that committed life. And if we view ourselves, in essence, we can disable whatever labels we may have put in whatever area of our life that may be disabling in our life. We can, in essence, free that up and be at liberty to be who we truly are, which is whole and complete. And even the people who are living in some of the poorest circumstances, we had traveled through some of those areas. It doesn't mean that they're poor, and I know we've been taught in our culture to label things. It could mean that they're just resources are necessary no matter what that circumstance. Resource poor, but not necessarily that that person is poor, but that there is this optimal place of sufficiency. There's that distinction of sufficiency. And one of my teachers, and he taught millions of people, was Buckminster Fuller. In the early 80s, I had an opportunity to hear this great designer and this great engineer. And he knew that we were complete and whole. And his definition of sufficiency was to be enough. And as we realize that we're whole and complete and enough already, we know that there may be people who may not be reading, but we can, like we did as a community, give to an organization like Read West. Know that people have creative intelligence. Just because they weren't able to read until we sat down with them or until we helped share our resources with them, so that to enable people to get beyond the label which may disable. To enable them to be free and to use that creative intelligence and read, to be able to read. And so that was our passion as a community, to give to that community. And this month, we'll be hearing more from Dave a little bit later about where we're giving and the warmth of our home that we already have, and to give our warmth of kindness, to give our warmth of supply, to give our warmth of sufficiency within our community too. As M. Jamal and Harvey McKinnon talks about what enriches us, we may only be one person in the world. Some of us think, we are only one person who may sit down and read with a person. But we may be the world to that one person. And I know that some of us, when we were seeing and exchanging resources this last week, we were the world to that one person we were talking with, who was sitting there right in front of us. This morning, even as someone walked in the door, that was the only thing that was happening, and giving that presence, giving that all, knowing that there is that whole and completeness that is there. When I had worked with a philanthropic foundation, I used to do association management in Los Angeles, and we provided people education, much like Reed West does locally here in Rio Rancho. It was great to see people move from point A to point B and to succeed because they had education. And what they did was they had a number of, and what philanthropic means as far as when we had worked with them, we knew that people could make a difference, and they would, whether it was saving up or contributing, whatever that was, they would contribute their time, their energy. They would contribute as far as whatever that was toward the deepest commitment of humanity, those deepest commitments toward education. To give and know that it makes a difference, that we may be the world to one person. And even if we make that one person, it could be us. We wake up in the morning and we need to make a difference in the world of that one person. And there was one person at the conference who just said, wow, I need a day off. I'm just going to rest and replenish and renew and rejuvenate. And that made a difference. And then she joined us in the evening, and it made such a difference. So when we think of philanthropy, it means that we have a love of humankind. So we all have a love of whatever that humankind or that kindness is. So we're all philanthropists in a way. And we can nourish the world. We can be in that place where we can nourish the world from a place of sufficiency, a place of what Buckminster Fuller would call being enough. We can love from that place of being sufficient. So we're living at this fulcrum, at the center of the tide of what's flowing. And we know that as we're at that fulcrum, as we're at that heart of being present in that moment, we can share of our sufficiency. We can share from our place that's enough. We can share our listening. We can share our love. We can share our laughter. And to honor that time, that quality time, whether it's in a car with 7 people, whether it's at the conference sharing our resources, we can honor that time that shifts that tide, to know that we are on that cutting edge, on that crest of that wave. So we shift that tide of energy in our life. We shift that tide as we have a change of our attention, going back, not just a change of our thought, but a change of our attention because we're committed to being led, committed to being inspired and guided. So Lynn Twist, who's the author of The Soul of Money, people have asked her, well, does money have a soul? No, but people do. People have a soul, and we give it. We've invented that exchange of energy. We have that exchange of energy. And what she invites us to do is to redefine that distinction of sufficiency in our life, like Buckminster Fuller. Rather than looking at what unanswered questions there are, she invites us to look at the unquestioned answers of our time. The unquestioned answers, which may be that unconscious, unexamined assumption those assumptions that have driven us. Like more is better. If we're always chasing something, I may not be enough. There is not enough to go around. That's an unquestioned answer of our time. People are selfish and they're up to no good. All those are unquestioned answers of our time. So they're no longer viable. We're at that fulcrum where we can shift our attention and have that change take place at the depths of our soul, where we are nourished and we're sufficient. And we just say, well, that's not true. It's no longer viable. That's not my paradigm. That's not where I am. That's the direction that I don't want to go. That's not who I am. Who I am is someone who is whole, someone who is complete already, someone who is enough already. So there is that distinction of sufficiency. And what I was taught, it's distinct from abundance. It's distinct from anything that's conditional. It's that state of being in the infinite, that higher place, that highest and best place, knowing that there is that exquisite experience of being enough. It's exquisite. And in our consumer-based culture, enough has no place, because we will always be chasing something. Or we may be doing our best to disable whatever that label is. So there's that absolutely exquisite, nourishing place, that soulful place where we come from. And to know that there is that experience of being enough. Because what I know is that more is better, that consciousness, that race consciousness, that collective consciousness that's out there, that more is better always generates lack. But from a place of sufficiency, we generate the sufficiency. We are that battery already. We are charged up, and that is our charge, to be on that cutting edge, to know that it frees up that ocean of energy, that ocean that's ever available to tap into. When we know we make a difference, we know that there is a deepening, there is a nourishment, there is that sufficiency place, there is that soulful place. And much like Rumi, who is a 13th century Persian mystic and poet, he told of a man who walked past a beggar and asked, "Why, God, do you not do something for these people? Why don't you do something?" That may be another unanswered question. Why don't you do something like it's out there? And God replied, "I did do something. I made you." And today we can be the world to one person. Whether that's that one person is us, whether that's that one person, someone we're driving in a car with or reaching out on the phone to. Instead of being a go-getter, like our society says, we can be a go-giver. We can give love. We can give laughter. We can give wisdom. We can give whatever that leadership or that faithfulness, or be that example. Be that mentor who we made a pilgrimage to and leave a legacy for. We can give of our time, we can give of our life, our health, we can give of whatever that sense of touch. If you just touch someone on their shoulder and say, you know, I know God's got this. God's got this. So there's kindness. There's places of kindness that we can be in our life. We know that when we're kind, it not only enhances our immune system. It's like, wow, I'm just going to give. I'm going to give love, laughter, and cry with you and be with you. It also lowers our cholesterol. I mean, it has all these benefits. It also strengthens our heart. It reduces our stress. All these benefits. And those are like byproducts. If we just give out of the nature, the sheer nature of giving, because we're sufficient and because we're enough, woo, it has all these other benefits. We get to be more, you know, we get to be more of who we are naturally, and it's very natural. And we're also asked to be grateful, in essence. We're not grateful because we're happy, but we're happy because we're grateful. That's our starting point. We show up and we give that. That's who we are. And we know that we have this place, that gratefulness, and that place that we're deepened and we're nourished, and we come from that place of enoughness. And knowing that our prosperity, that comes from the word hopeful. Prosperous comes from the word hopeful, and I would kick that up a notch too. I would call it faithful, full of faith, and it's full of possibility, full of sufficiency, full of that nature which is already adequate, and there's already supply of that love, supply of the kindness, supply of that giving nature. And I was visiting with a friend at the conference, and she was talking about Rosh Hashanah being the Jewish New Year. And so we can all move into this new year of our life. We don't have to wait till January 1st to do it. There's no need to wait. We can celebrate in whatever traditions. And I like to absorb all the different traditions and know that there's that common thread. To know that there is that positive nature, and that there is that which is the positive initiative that can happen in our life, much like a new year. We can have a new day, a new declaration for this new day, and our commitment to lead by that growth. And so Shana Tova it's a Happy New Year greeting. And what it means is, may you be inscribed and sealed for a good year. Inscribed. and sealed for a good year. And inscribed means to be dedicated. I'm leading from commitment. From that commitment and from and of that sufficiency. I'm inscribed for a good year. And what they do is, for the sweetness of the new year, is they dip apples in honey. And I thought that looked really good. And I've been in ceremony with people. And so to recall that we have that opportunity for a new year. And oftentimes it's some days of introspection. And we're in a year of spiritual practice where we can be in this power of spiritual living. And this is a month of giving. And then in November, moving into a month of gratitude. And then in December, having a bit of silence in the holiday hustle and bustle. But to have all those aspects of what allows us to be in that introspection and come from that place of positive initiative and that commitment to growth, that commitment to be led and to lead a committed life. There are 177 people who made a difference in Carly's life. And Carly had submitted her request to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And so she had a life-threatening illness. And what she wanted to do was swim with the dolphins at SeaWorld. And it was on Friday that her father, Russ, had said that, yeah, I'm going to say goodbye. His daughter was dying. And on Friday, all the nurses were asked to say goodbye. And the nurses were surprised to see him on Monday. It makes me sad. They were surprised to see Russ with his daughter Carly on Monday after the weekend. And she had come out of a coma. She had regained consciousness. And they had carried her on a plane. She was well enough to go on a plane to SeaWorld, to swim with the dolphins. And people, when they gave this opportunity, they didn't know her story. They just said, we're going to provide this opportunity because we're sufficient, we're enough, we're whole, we're complete. We can give this gift of life and seeing this new life. And she can have a new year. And today, she's healthy. Today, she's energetic. Today, she has a new life with her family. And it's possible. There's that possible situation in our life, whether that's in our health, whether that's in our wealth, whether that's in our relationships. We can have a new day, a new year from a place of sufficiency. And there was that commitment to being led, that commitment knowing that her wish could be fulfilled. And we had that space of grace, where Carly could have that experience. And this last week was much like that experience for the people I was with. They had a renewal in passion. They had a renewal in whatever invigorated that inspiration within. And to know that that upliftment and from that place of sufficiency just spills over, and it just can't help but flow in this place of giving. And what I invite each and every one of us to do is to, number one, lead a committed life. Number two is to have this exquisite experience of being enough, and to be a go-giver rather than a go-taker or go whatever it is, and do great works. And to be happy because we're grateful. So knowing that much like we can really enjoy the ride, enjoy this very ride, and be in this energy of being enough, being sufficient, and being whole, I invite us to join in the flow, in this energetic flow of this vibration of the infinite. There is this infinite way and infinite presence, knowing that there is that place and space of grace, which is fulfilling and fulfilled of itself, of the thing itself. And knowing that there is the energy, there is that place which is enough and good. It is sweet. It is in that sweetness of the honey. It is in that sweetness of the celebration, knowing that there is a new year. There's a new day, a new moment, right here and right now. So being in this place of grace in this new moment, I know that there is this space which is so vast, it is so incredibly flowing in the rhythm and the harmony of joy, in the harmony of celebration, in the harmony of that which is the optimal place to be, the highest and best of this cutting edge of life, knowing that there is sheer aliveness in this oneness and this unification with the divine. So I know that in this connection and celebration and renewal of this place being refreshed and giving of itself, it shows up as sufficiency, sufficiency in beautiful, intimate relationships, knowing that at people's workplaces it's showing up as harmony and as prosperity, being in the flow. And what I know is that there is radiant health and vibrant health, and just in this place of oneness and grace, it shows up as inner peace. And I'm grateful, and I'm happy. I am happy because I am grateful. And I release this word in the action of the law, knowing it is done, it is clear. The path is so beautiful and doors are open. And so be it, and so I celebrate, and so it is. And please join in some moments of stillness.